Hello there, and everyone. Welcome to GamePoints episode 301. Your weekly little get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. As always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, we have to go over that Sony State of Play that dropped last week. Elden Ring's doing quite well, it seems, and EA Play has been canceled for 2022, likely a sign of troubling things to come, both for EA and the future of E3, but that's more or less beating a dead horse at this point. But first... I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching us here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/GamePoints, or later over at any myriad of social media platforms, feel free to join in the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. that you might have. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. David.
Yes.
How's the Elden Ring treating you?
Fucking great.
Are you anywhere close to an end at all?
I don't think I'm even a little bit close to the end. I honestly don't.
I know you're essentially playing through that game 2 or 3 times because you're doing it co-op with other people.
Yeah, I'm playing with like anybody that wants to play. So like anybody that I know that's playing it that wants help with a boss, I'll go back and help. Like it's so fun. So I don't mind playing the old stuff. And for the first time ever in one of these games, I'm not limited to being within 5 or 10 levels of whoever I want to play with. It scales you. So my character can be level 60, and I can go help someone level 20 with a boss, and it just tunes my stats down, and it's great.
Excellent. I didn't know that was I knew that was the case beforehand, but I didn't know they changed it for this. That's smart.
Yeah, and it works very well. Like I'll load into somebody else's game, and be like, wow, I have no health bar all of a sudden, but it works out all right.
Excellent. I finally started playing Elden Ring in earnest yesterday because I finished up Horizon Forbidden West. It is now my 3rd platinum, by the way. I really, really enjoyed that game. But as far as Elden Ring goes, I haven't left that first section. So to the south, there's the bridge.
Yes.
And to the north, there's a ridge.
Yes. And
I have been
in like a castle.
Yeah, I haven't gone up that far north or that far south. I've been focused on that little tiny area where you start off at and just doing as much as I can there. Fucked up a dragon.
Good call.
Don't know if I want to do anything with it or not, based on what some other dude said. I am like, because I know that sometimes decisions like that can really fuck you in these games later on.
Yeah.
I'll have to get your opinion on that off stream because I don't know if I want to spoil anything. But I did find a place where you could do something with the dragon, and I am highly concerned about what might happen if I do it.
Full disclosure, I've done something with the dragon.
all right. I'll pick your brain off that
about it later.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into Elden Ring spoilers. I'm sure that I'd say in a couple weeks or so, I think we can start safely talking about things that happen.
Anything in the opening area will probably be safe, but like getting deeper in the game, because the problem is you can go anywhere and you can fight any boss, and there's kind of a funny thing where if you follow the progress of the game as it's arrayed to you, you'll get your ass kicked quickly because it will railroad you kind of to the first big like checkpoint boss, like power level check boss. And you're not really supposed to do that. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things to do.
It's
like that area where you're starting out in, there's probably 12 to 13 bosses you can go fight.
I have killed anything with a life bar, I should say.
Yes.
I'm counting that as a little bit. I think I've killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, I think, that have a life bar.
There's a lot.
One of them's dragon, clearly.
I've done everything in that opening zone. And I have a lot of hours in that.
Do you have like a checklist you're checking off, or are you just convinced you've done everything?
So, funny story.
Okay.
I know I've done everything using a kind of silly metric. I can no longer summon people in the opening area of that video game.
Oh.
I'm done with it.
So does it just say there's no reason to summon anything anymore, or?
It's kind of silly, and I didn't think about it as I started playing the game, but I figured out as I went on that each open world zone more or less operates like an old Dark Souls level. Once you're out of bosses, there's no more reason to summon people. Which doesn't mean there isn't anything to explore and find. That just means there's, no more bosses.
And does the game prevent you from summoning people?
I cannot summon people in the opening zone of that game anymore.
So So
Like,
as
I
long...
do not see summon signs. It is not an option.
Huh, fascinating. So as long as you can still summon people, there might still be a boss around.
Yep.
Interesting. That's
Now,
a good
the
way
exception
to
to this is any of the smaller instance dungeons are all separate.
Okay.
So they all have their own thing. If you go into a dungeon and you fight that boss, then you can't summon in that dungeon anymore.
All right. I'm sure that someone will have all of this worked out within a couple of weeks or so, so you can go through and do a
I
hard
honestly
checklist to
don't
be
think
safe.
that you are meant to 100% this game. I think you're supposed to play it and just kind of do some stuff on the side and then work your way through the story and beat it and then start a whole new character. Because honestly, like getting through that first section, and I've literally scoured every inch of the map in that opening section. I know how to get to anywhere in that opening section. If you're curious, I can tell you how to get there.
All right.
So I'm pretty positive I've seen everything there is to see there, and that burned through so many hours that I'm
Are you through
if every zone is like this, I'll never finish this video game.
Are you 100 hours into it at least?
I think I'm tipping the 80s.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely high for you. For damn sure.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that. We will get into more Elden Ring as the shows progress from here on out. I think
it's hard not to talk about it. It's so damn fun.
It's the only thing you're playing, and I'm now getting into it finally because I finished up Horizon Forbidden West. Excellent game, by the way. It still feels great. I love how it wrapped everything up. It clearly sets up a third game. And Lance Reddick's character is still awesome. Still my favorite part of the entire game is silence.
Excellent.
So if you get a chance, I highly recommend you take a look at it. And as I said, it is one of 3 platinums that I have on the PlayStation. The other 2 being the first Horizon game and Persona 5R, of all things.
Oh, all right.
David, while we're on to talk about PlayStation, last week Sony did one of its State of Plays. And this was It's meant to be a Japanese-focused one with a few surprises, I believe they said. And true to its word, that is exactly what we got. So I don't know why people are pissed off that there wasn't God of War shown or The Last of Us multiplayer.
They're so specific on what's going to happen.
They tell you exactly what's coming up.
Anybody that's raging about a State of Play is someone who's just trolling at this point.
That said, there are some things I think you can safely criticize about this. And let's start off with this first thing right here, and that's Exo Primal. Now, did you get a chance?
Why isn't this Dino Crisis?
Thank you. You did see it, then I'm assuming, and that was my very first thought. Because when I saw it open, I remember thinking, "Oh shit, this is Dino Crisis."
Yeah,
and then
Capcom. There's dinosaurs. They have an established franchise that we've been, well, not we as in like the culture, but we as in me and you specifically have been clamoring for a new one for a minute now.
Additionally, what happened then is that black hole opens up, and a ludicrous amount of dinosaurs just start falling out of the sky.
All the dinosaurs.
So I thought it was going to be an EDF game for a second.
Okay.
And it turns out it's neither.
Earth Defense Force, where you're fighting giant hordes of monsters and aliens and stuff.
Instead, we get what looks to be Anthem crossed with Earth Defense Force, and I'm kind of into it. Exo Primal is going to be coming out next year. You're going to be taking a team of 5 players and fighting waves and waves and waves of dinosaurs, of all things. And just take a look at the trailers for the thing. It looks fucking ridiculous. Like, I was watching this live here at Twitch TV/GamePoints when it was streaming, and I was just laughing about how over the top it was with the flood of like Tyrannosaurus Rexes just spilling out from a skyscraper height, mind you. So half of them would just die on impact.
I remember there was like either a really cheap or a free-to-play PC game that I played for a while that was like people versus dinosaurs that gave me the same vibe as this game.
Oh,
but it's like a much lower budget, like more independent feeling game, but I think some of the players were the dinosaurs, and you could be a T-Rex with like laser eyes and all this other crap. That game was also pretty slapstick.
I know what game you're talking about, and it's pissing me off that I can't think of it because it's called like Survival Instincts or something along those lines.
Something. If I poured through my Steam library from years ago, I would track it down. But that's immediately what I was thinking of looking at this.
Instinctive Behavior, maybe?
I could not tell you. Even if you said the actual name to me, I'm not a positive.
I know if you're talking about, though. There's actually a second one. Yeah, I think it's in the same universe as Subnautica, actually.
Maybe. Who knows?
Sounds weird. What did you think about Exo Primal?
I mean, neat. Still mad it's not Dino Crisis. We'll see what it looks like when it comes out. It's not something that's going to make me run out and pay money for it. Like, maybe if it shows up and it's super fun, I'll look at it.
Speaking of not wanting to pay money for it, but could be interesting, their next game they showed was Ghostwire Tokyo. Way
So,
more. Go ahead.
the original trailer for Ghostwire Tokyo I thought looked awesome.
Yeah, it looked like a horror game, and it was coming from Tango Gameworks, which are the people that made Evil Dead 1 and 2, or Evil Dead, The Evil Within 1 and 2. So I thought it was still going to be like that spooky survival horror-ish game.
And here's where we immediately differ, because I know you probably saw this trailer and bounced off it saying, that's not the survival horror game I want. And I looked at it and went, perfect. It's not a survival horror game that I'll never play. It looks more like something I'll actually enjoy.
It is way more action than I thought, and one thing that works in its favor there, David, is that I get strong Breakdown vibes from watching this trailer. Now, for those of you who don't know,
Breakdown was fucking awesome.
Breakdown was a Namco game that was an Xbox exclusive only, like the original OG Xbox, and you can't find it anywhere anymore. But goddamn, that game was amazing. It really does feel like it's being sent off to die, though, because Tango Gameworks, as you know, is owned by Bethesda, and Bethesda is now owned by Microsoft.
Yep.
And
this is a Sony exclusive.
Yeah. Ghostwire Tokyo was meant to be a timed Sony exclusive. So I can't imagine they're too ecstatic about having a Microsoft Studio-made game on their platform anymore.
Yeah, and it's coming out in less than 2 weeks.
I believe next week is when it drops. And it's just, it's unfair to say there's no buzz about this game, figuring it just got a state of play. But besides that, there is just no buzz about this game.
No, I think it looks cool, but I mean, I bought my full price video game for the year, so what am I gonna do?
Yeah, I'm definitely not playing this when it comes out. I'm gonna wait for it to drop in price or somehow sent a code or something like that. But I will not be buying $70 of whatever this game is gonna be worth.
Well, how do you feel about Chaos?
You know, I kind of like it. I hate that I'm saying that, but the more I see of Stranger of Paradise, the more I'm into it.
Yeah, I just don't know. I still don't know. I think this game looks horrifically dumb. Maybe it'll be fun. Maybe it's awesome even. I just can't get over every time anyone in any of these trailers talks.
So I know for a fact this is going to turn you off, but the second I heard this comparison, I just kind of accepted what this game is, and now I'm more excited for it. I heard from someone who's reviewing this game that Stranger of Paradise is like Kingdom Hearts crossed with Fast and the Furious.
That is the worst thing I've ever heard.
And yeah, that does sound bad on its face. I understand that. But once I heard that, I kind of realized what they were going for here. It's like The Fifth Element, right? When I first saw the trailers for Fifth Element when that movie was in theaters, because I'm fucking old, I thought it was going to be a hard science fiction film. And
it's a Lucas classic.
And then I went and saw it and went, this is fucking stupid. Because
that's a great movie.
My expectations were not set correctly. And then when I saw it later, knowing it was meant to be kind of silly and kind of a comedy, I went, okay, I can appreciate this for what it is better now. And now I enjoy it quite a bit more. This is what Stranger of Paradise feels to me.
All right.
It feels like
you're ready for it. You're
yes.
prepped for Stranger of Paradise.
Absolutely.
You're in the right headspace for it.
Also, I trust Team Ninja. I think they have, when it comes to like just pure gameplay, I think they're one of the best studios out there. So as long as you can accept the fact that this is Kingdom Hearts by way of Fast and the Furious, which I still think is an apt comparison. Once you can accept that, I think the game is going to play very well. And there is a demo out for it now, and I'm looking forward to actually playing the game when it does come out. Once again, like Ghostwire Tokyo, though, I'm not playing it the day it does come out. I'm going to wait a little bit and then pick it up later. David?
Yes.
This is a game that I think you and I have vastly different opinions on. Because I think you're excited for this, and I can care less about it. Forspoken.
I think I was excited for this.
Oh?
I don't know. I'm like on the fence on it now. Like, I'm still interested, but I'm slightly, I don't know, I guess I'm more cautious. Like the original teaser, I think was exciting,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna be fun, right? I don't know. We'll see.
The marketing for this game is so bipolar, it's ridiculous. Because when you first saw that original teaser, it focused on the gameplay and for traversal, and this most recent trailer also does the same thing. It makes me think of like a fantasy-based Infamous, the way it plays. But then the other trailers were actually supposed to be story trailers, and the dialogue is so fucking cheesy now. It like that Joss Whedon-esque dialogue doesn't work, and I think that it's telling that they showed the first trailer, no dialogue, just action, looked cool. Then they showed 2 trailers after that, which were very dialogue heavy, and the internet ripped it to shreds with just how no one cared for the interaction between the two. And I agree, because as I've said a couple times, I am over I'm looking at the end of the world in its face, and I'm bored to tears kind of mentality of it. It's like, oh, great, I guess I have to go get that now kind of thing. Like that Joss Whedon-esque, nothing matters, and everything's overly cynical. I treat breaking a nail with the same amount of urgency as I treat saving the life of a friend kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I think it's telling that... Go ahead.
Like, the movement stuff is still what gets me.
Yes, and that looks great.
I still think that specific part looks awesome. I just don't know how the rest of it's going to be.
I think it's very telling that the newest trailer only had 1 line of dialogue in it, and it was a very quick one.
Mm-hmm. Also, this game got delayed. So.
It did get delayed to October 11th. Also, something I'm a little bit worried about, Amy Hennig is co-writing this game along with Gary Whitta.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing Amy Hennig really did was Uncharted. Now, Uncharted, great for its time. But I've always compared Nathan Drake to Indiana Jones if Joss Whedon wrote him. So a lot of that shit is coming through. And what I'm afraid of is that the dialogue issues that we're seeing is because Amy Hennig still has the early, the mid to late 2000s mentality of storytelling in her head. And we have moved beyond that. That's why this shit feels so dated. And I'm really worried about that. Because Frey, the main character of Forspoken, really has a lot of the very played out traits Nathan Drake did in Uncharted. And I think that she might be drawn from that Nathan Drake well a little too much when it comes to the dialogue here.
Well, let's wait 7 months and find out.
Fair enough. How do you like them Gundams?
I don't really care.
Same here. I saw this and went, cool, it looks like a Gundam game. And then I went, wow, this doesn't look like just a Gundam game. It looks like an Overwatch Gundam game, and immediately tuned out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, the next thing on the list, because I'm just going to walk right over Gundam, is the thing that I am the most excited for of the entire state of play. TMNT, the Cowabunga Collection. It's basically all of the old Ninja Turtles games. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm going to read them to you.
Take your time.
I am going to drop TMNT from the title of these video games. How's that? That'll speed things up. You've got the original arcade game. You've got Turtles in Time. You've got the NES version.
The arcade version of Turtles in Time, important to note.
Yes, thank you for that. Number 2, the arcade game that was on NES. Number 3, the Manhattan Project. Tournament Fighters. Number 4, Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo, so it has both. The Super Nintendo Tournament Fighters. The Hyperstone Heist from Sega. Tournament Fighters from Sega. Follow the Foot Clan from Game Boy. Back from the Sewers from Game Boy. Radical Rescue from Game Boy. And all of it is just in one giant flippin' Cowabunga collection.
Something that I
literally just redid my arcade stick because I've had a picture of Raphael on the front of my arcade stick for years and years, and I'd been meaning for ages to replace my face buttons so that all 4 of the bottom buttons were green and the top 4 were blue, purple, red, and orange. And I finally did that, and then they announced this collection. So
I am meant to be.
I am ready.
One thing to note, I did not pick this up during the actual state of play itself, but it is in the articles later, that the arcade versions of Turtles, the original arcade game Turtles in Time, Tournament Fighter, and Hyperstone Heist will be playable online with other people.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Now, let's be real here.
Anyone else played a lot of old school Turtles games in the arcades, but I loved them.
Let's be real here, though. There's really only about 4 games on this list that are good, but they are great games.
Yeah, I will fully admit that these are not all bangers, but the ones that are more than make up for the rest.
I am also looking forward to the new generation of people get to experience the bullshit That is the very first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games on Nintendo.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm also kind of curious to go back to it too, now that while my Twitch gaming skills have atrophied over the years, I am able to think more clearly and keep maps better in my head. So I might actually be able to succeed at that old Nintendo Ninja Turtles game.
Let's kick shell.
One can only hope.
Where no turtle has gone before.
Oh, oh god, that was like Space 2020 or something like that. I remember that one. I also remember Big Apple 3 a.m.
Hell yeah.
And there was also Bury My Shell at Wounded Knee.
Yep.
That was on a train. You fought the gator. Well David
done
Gigabash.
on your old Turtles knowledge. That's great.
Gigabash, what did you think?
I played this game and its sequel.
Yeah, War of the Monsters, right?
Yeah, I loved War of the Monsters on PlayStation 2 or 3 or I don't know.
PlayStation 2.
From ages ago, where you basically just battled as giant kaiju and you destroyed buildings and you could pick up buildings and throw them at each other. And it was a ton of fun.
That is essentially what Gigabash is, to the point where the developers are openly saying that is the inspiration for it. A quote from them directly. It takes inspiration from classic tokusatsu characters such as Godzilla, Megazord, Ultraman, as well as games like War of the Monsters and Power Stone.
That second part makes me very excited because Power Stone is a great game that deserves another sequel.
This led us to create a roster of 10 unique titans, each fitting a certain kaiju or a certain hero trope, and having their own playstyle, skill sets, and combos to master. Once again, this comes with it's going to have an online multiplayer focus, but there will be a single-player story mode to kind of expand out, I believe, 4 of the individual titans. This looks like one of those games that would be great to buy, and then you play it for a weekend, and you probably never touch it again.
This looks like something that should absolutely be on PS Plus.
Yes. This probably will launch on PlayStation Plus if I had to venture a guess. This has also, PlayStation Plus written all over it.
A spoiler alert for later in the show. This also looks suspiciously like a new release from this week.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
it's pretty easy to guess. Yeah. We'll get there.
David, do you care about JoJo?
I don't know JoJo.
I barely know JoJo either. I know it's a very popular anime to the point where when this trailer came on, they didn't do that thing where they come out and announce it real quick. They kind of build up to it. But the people who were in chat watching along with me just lit up the second that was going on. So it was very clear to them what this was. And I had no idea. But JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R apparently is going to be based on the All-Star Battle from JoJo back in 2013 with some adjustments. So it sounds kind of like an equivalent of Street Fighter Turbo, or whatever the equivalent of that would be. But for JoJo, they're going to have 50 characters. It's a fighting game with 50 characters.
Nah, that's cool.
I don't know if that means anything, but that is coming out as well.
How many does KOF 15 have? Hold on.
What are we doing here? You working out some math there, David?
King of Fighters 15 has 51.
You said how much does KOF have? Okay.
Yeah.
How about this next?
I needed to check to see real quick if I was impressed or not.
Fair enough. Impressed being one more than what KOF had.
No, it has one less than what KOF had.
That means you're not impressed.
Indeed. Anyway, how about Trek to Yomi?
Oh, goddamn, it looks so good.
I mean, I played an awful lot of Ghost of Tsushima in Kurosawa mode, so, I mean, you could probably guess how I feel about this.
This is from Flying Wild Hog. Actually, it's from one guy who was also co-working with Flying Wild Hog. Those are the Shadow Warrior people, I believe. Importantly, though, if you're looking for the equivalent of the old Nintendo seal of quality, well, we look for the Devolver logo now these days. At least I do. And they are publishing this, so that tends to come with a certain guarantee of greatness, in my opinion.
Also, it does not mean that it's an indie game any longer, because Devolver's fucking huge.
Yeah, Devolver's not really an indie studio anymore. They're publishing it, though.
Yes.
This looks amazing. It looks to be a 2D black and white samurai action game, and god damn do I want to play this. I thought this was coming out in a couple weeks. Yeah, extremely stylish. Right time for it. Sifu was good, but not great. It hasn't quite scratched that itch that I have for something like this. I'm hoping that Trek to Yomi fills that void that I got in my heart since playing Ghost of Tsushima.
All right.
Did you ever get around to playing Returnal?
Well, considering the fact that I still, in 2022, do not have a PS5, I'm going to go with no.
You know people who's got it. You could have been over at someone's house. You could have taken a look at it.
Considering it's 2022 and who goes outside anymore, I'm going to go with no.
Well, when you do finally get around to playing it one day, Returnal does have a new free update coming called the Ascension Update, and they're adding 2 modes to it. First, the co-op, so you can play through the entire campaign co-op mode. Apparently,
Fun.
it does not scale with difficulty, which is actually a good thing this time around, in my opinion, because that game is brutally hard. The second is an endless mode called the Tower Sisyphus, where you have to climb to the top of the tower, and it is never ending with increasingly difficult waves of critters thrown at you. A typical free update kind of deal.
Okay.
Oh, God.
We got to talk about it. They keep making games. We have to bring them up.
You know what pisses me off about this, David, is I really want to play this, too.
I'm sure you do. It's a new Square game.
The
Unfortunately, it's
Field Chronicle.
The Dio Field Chronicle.
Stop naming things. Square
Okay, but hold on. In their defense, this is the best named game they've had since they made Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah. I guess. It's kind of a low bar. The Dio Field Chronicle coming in 2022. It calls itself a real-time tactical battle game. I don't know what that means. I get the feeling it is going to play like a cross between a strategy RPG and
wasn't Final Fantasy VIII a real-time tactical battle game?
This I don't think it was, because they just call that the real-time battle system.
Okay, a real-time tactical battle system.
Yeah, they throw the word tactical.
You have an ATB bar that fills up, and then you move on a grid.
I get a distinct feeling it is
Maybe
one of those things where if you move, everyone else moves at the same time, but you kind of have a bar to do certain things. I don't know what they mean by real-time tactical battle game. All I know is that there's strategy involved, and it's set in a almost borderline industrial setting, industrial revolution setting, and it really seems to be aping World War I. So all this shit is swirling together to make an excellent, delicious meal for me.
Of course.
Also, unlike some of these other games, actually, I take that back. Never mind. I was going somewhere with it. Doesn't matter.
All right.
Doesn't matter. David, there's one more game in here. I don't know how I feel about this.
Okay.
Valkyrie Elysium.
Yes.
Set in the Valkyrie Profile universe.
The sequel to what? Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, I think, was the last one on like PSP.
There was... So there's Valkyrie Profile, which has been now called Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, which is the remake. There's Valkyrie Profile 2 Samaria. There's a DS game called Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume, which is a tactics game. Think like Final Fantasy Tactics. So they kind of stepped away from the pure RPG of the first 2 games there.
But isn't that more of a spin-off? I don't think that's the main storyline, is it?
I never played it. I don't have an answer for you there.
Fair enough.
And then you have this one, which is still set in the same Valkyrie Profile universe overall, but it's going to be an action RPG. And while I love the idea of them revisiting Valkyrie Profile 1, I need it to be an RPG again, not an action RPG, but like an actual turn-based RPG like the old ones. And 2, this looks really, really dated and budget to me. Now, it could be because I was only seeing quick cuts. It could be just a rough showing of what's coming up. But man, did this almost looked like early PS3 technology that was running here. I was not impressed.
I don't know that it bothers me.
Are you just happy you're getting a new Valkyrie game, or?
Like I'm kind of into it because at this point we've mentioned it before that I can't really play RPGs anymore. I don't have the patience for them. Even though it would make more sense for me as an adult. It's like it's less of a time investment because I can sit down and play for 20 minutes and then just save and turn the game off. It's that, I don't know, I feel like any turn-based RPG isn't going to respect my time as much, even though that might be a ridiculous statement, and this could still just be like an 80-hour video game. Even though that's an equally ridiculous statement since I've played like 80 hours of Elden Ring, but that's beside the point. A lot of these like RPGs I can't play anymore because it's just, I know I don't want to sit down for 60 to 100 hours of turn-based battles anymore. I don't have it in me.
Absolutely understandable. I totally get it. I do understand that. And an action RPG would tend to be on the lower side of that game counter.
Yeah, I just think it'll be skinnier, a little more focused. Maybe hit me with the story beats, and if the combat is good, then I'll keep playing it.
I want to support this game because I want to see a proper Valkyrie game, a Valkyrie Profile 3. But man, I am just not too excited for this, which brings me to the thing that I mentioned earlier about how the internet can be mad at the state of play and not actually have something wrong with them. Because typically when people are upset at state of plays, it's because they can't fucking read or they're not paying attention. Sony says it's going to be 20 minutes. It's going to cover this, this, and this. If it doesn't have what you're looking for on there, then it's not going to be for you. But this time around, let's recap here. They start off by giving us a not Dino Crisis game.
Yes.
Then they go down and give us where was
Not
it?
War of the Monsters.
Not War of the Monsters. Then they give us not Final Fantasy Tactics, and then they end with not Valkyrie Profile. I could see why someone might be a little salty here.
Okay.
Because it's a lot, and the way all these were presented do kind of make you sit up and go, "Oh my God, they're bringing this back," and then they just pull the rug out from under you real quick.
I also think that the Cowabunga collection should be released at the time of show.
Yeah, that really does feel like a available now.
That's the perfect thing to drop available now, and then use that to spin in more excitement for Shredder's Revenge,
which is still does not have a date, I don't think.
Yeah, but I'm still excited for it.
Same here. Really look forward to Shredder's Revenge. But yeah, that kind of covers the entirety of the state of play that happened last week. I did enjoy it, but man, they just kind of, like I said, just rug pull after rug pull after rug pull. When I got excited, I think it was this franchise coming back, and I went, oh, that's not this. But then again, I also looked at it and went, yeah, okay, it's not bad. I'll give it a shot. Specifically that extra primal thing, though. What the fuck is Capcom thinking with that?
It should just be Dino Crisis.
It should just be Dino Crisis. All right,
David. Maybe they're gonna pull out the rug from us, and you're gonna play it, and during one scene, it's gonna say Exoprimal : Dino Crisis 3, and everyone's just fucked.
or worse yet, they still call it Exoprimal : A Crisis of Dinosaurs.
Oh, actually, you know what? I'm still with it.
I want someone in the game to actually say that as a line. In
This
2026, in 2026, Earth experienced the crisis of dinosaurs. Just to kind of like rub it in their face just a little bit. Because if you're going to lead me on that way, then just go fully into it.
Yeah, why not?
Dave, why don't you go ahead and lead us off with this next story here, since this is a little bit more into your what you're into.
We can say it's my wheelhouse, even though it's like everybody's wheelhouse. Well, actually, there's notable exceptions. There's a bunch of people that aren't playing Elden Ring, but it's not everyone. In a story from GamesIndustry.biz, Elden Ring is the biggest new IP since The Division, and I didn't realize that Division was that big of an IP. Elden Ring is Europe's biggest new games IP since The Division launched in 2016, and the biggest game launch since Call of Duty Vanguard in November of last year, according to the latest GSD market report.
That's pretty impressive, given how notorious Elden Ring is or not Elden Ring,
Souls
From Software games. Souls games are to welcoming new people into them.
Yes, the FromSoft game sold best on PC, representing 44% of total sales. Then it's PS5 with 27, Xbox with 16, and PS4 for 13. The second place game of the month was Horizon Forbidden West. Forbidden West is the biggest PS5 launch outside the Call of Duty franchise. 59% of Horizon sales were on PS5, with the remainder coming on PS4. However, it's worth noting the PS4 version of Horizon was available for slightly less than the PS5 edition, and you're able to upgrade to PS5 from PS4 to PS5 for free. So it could be that there was a lot of PS4 sales just for PS5. Although, I still don't think that many people have PS5s, even though they keep saying they're selling like gangbusters. I only know like 2 people with one, so what are you going to do?
I'm sure the people at From Software are just ecstatic about these numbers.
There's a reason I wanted to actually talk about this specific report, Steven. And we had a conversation last week, which I think we still disagree on. But this report makes my side feel great. Which game will have the longer tail? You've said that Horizon will absolutely crush it down the line, but I'm actually, like I'm saying, this is the nicest, friendliest, cuddliest Souls game that there's ever been. And I think the word of mouth is actually insane, and that this game is going to do gangbusters.
I
And
believe
think
30 minutes before this show went on live, I heard a report that said this game has sold 12 million copies so far.
yeah, I think it's just gonna crush. I think it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, this definitely is an argument in your column for sure. I still think at the end of the day, Horizon Forbidden West will sell more, and that is not because of my love of Horizon. It's just because I think that Sony can keep up the marketing for it way longer than Elden Ring can.
That's fair, but my instant rebuttal is still one of them is on every console.
Absolutely. Yep. For now.
Now, give it a year, right? And we'll see when Horizon drops on fucking everything. It's on Game Pass. The world's at an end. Who knows?
So, yeah, congratulations to FromSoft. You guys have had a just major hit with Elden Ring, selling way more copies than I thought you would. I expected us to be a 6 to 7 million copy seller, which is huge. That is a huge game. And that is especially huge sales for something as, well, what used to be considered niche as a Souls-like, but I don't think we can really say that that genre is niche anymore.
Not with 12 million copies.
No, absolutely not. So congratulations there.
That being said, hey, maybe give your employees a bonus or something.
And our sympathies to Guerrilla for once again releasing a masterpiece of a game up against something that just destroyed you on
like a week before
media.
Like the open world crushing game.
I am really looking forward to Horizon.
How does it happen twice?
I'm really looking forward to Horizon 3 coming out because that's when Half-Life 3 is going to drop, I hear.
Right? By the way, Half-Life 3 is also open world and will once again redefine the genre.
Next up. This is a little bit concerning. Now, it's a little bit of a long article, so let me go through all of it before we get into it. This is via Video Game Chronicle. Headline. Insiders describe fast and furious exits from Xbox's Perfect Dark studio. To the article itself. As much as half of the core development team known to be working on the upcoming Perfect Dark reboot quit the company during last year, or around 34 people, analysts of the employee LinkedIn profiles has revealed. As a side, David, there is a video that was being shown when the initiative first gathered, and they're showing all the people currently working at the initiative, and there were 15 different names on there. Currently, only 5 of those people are at the studio now.
Wow.
Back to the article. That number includes most of the initiative's senior design team, including game director Dan Nuremberger, design director Drew Murray, lead level design Chris O'Neill, principal world builder Joelyn Myers, 2 senior designers, a group of 3 former God of designers, and more. For turnover top talent doesn't end in design. Perfect Dark's 2 most senior writers also recently quit, analysis shows, along with the project's technical director, technical art director, lead gameplay engineer, lead animator, QA lead, and more. According to LinkedIn, the initiative is now less than 50 people when duplicates and former employees and erroneous listings are removed, and currently has just 3 roles advertised on its website. Analysis suggested it hired around 12 people in the past 12 months. Remember, this was supposed to be the first quadruple A studio.
Yes.
And Microsoft was like really trying to build up its team for it.
Keeping in mind that AAA studios normally have hundreds of employees.
Mm-hmm. The timing of its departures coincides with the September 2021 announcement that Crystal Dynamics has been signed to co-develop Perfect Dark. And I remember at the time saying that that was not a good sign for the initiative.
If you have a quadruple A studio, why is there another team co-designing your video game?
Yes. This, combined with a few job roles currently advertised at the initiative, suggests the Tomb Raider developer is likely taking a much stronger lead than first thought on the project. Except for this show here, which there's no way in hell that they're just going to be sitting back with that many people coming on board, because it was a lot of people that were joining. Interviews with multiple formal senior developers cited a lack of creative autonomy and slow development progress as the reasons for their departures, and described the wave of exits as fast and furious, with project momentum said to be heavily affected.
It's almost like making a studio and then having another studio come in to babysit all of their work isn't really good for morale at the original studio.
The formal initiative developers VGC spoke to attributed the wave of departures to the frustration among senior tenure over the direction of the project set down by the studio head, Daryl Gallagher, and game director Daniel Nuremberger, who he himself left the company last month. VGC sources agreed that they would be surprised that Crystal Dynamics' introduction, combined with significant departures of its core staff, hadn't triggered an effective soft reboot of Perfect Dark, and that it was likely still years away from release. If I recall too, David, the person that brought in Crystal Dynamics to work on this was the head of Crystal Dynamics, but left the company.
Entirely possible.
I think that was the case. I'm not positive. This really...
Anyway, this project is basically doomed. It will come out eventually. It will probably not be a great video game.
I don't know if it won't be a great video game, but it's definitely not going to be the one that was originally envisioned.
This just reeks of being designed by committee at this point.
This doesn't reek of design by committee to me. This reeks of someone at the very top who is very micromanagey.
I'm gonna put that in the same category because this doesn't have like a creative head who's running through the project the whole time. And yes, there's been games where the creative leads have left in the middle and the game still ended up being great, but that's not always the case or even traditionally the case. So I would be surprised if this came out swinging.
There's also something that we haven't really mentioned on the show before. I've been trying to find a way to work it in, but I haven't been able to do so until now. Right now, it is like a workers' market when it comes to video game industry because people are hungry for talent right now. There's a whole bunch of studios opening up, and the salaries being offered are unfucking real at the moment. This is why Quantic Dream is having a hard time hiring people right now, because why work for Quantic Dream, a studio that does have some negative rumors around them, when I can go work at somewhere else for twice as much?
Yep. So and also, they'll still let me work from home, where you're trying to force me to go to the office for no reason.
Well, I don't know if that's the case with Quantic Dream or this here, but that's
not them specifically, but I do know that there are people or places that aren't getting workers because they're trying to enforce, like...
Yes, they're like,
office
no, you need to come back to the office culture and stuff like that. Or, and like I said, there are just some places that are offering obscene amounts of money for people who have only a few years of experience in the games industry right now, because you're having a whole bunch of people that had their projects kind of put on hold during COVID, and a lot of businesses put their stuff on hold during COVID, and a lot of new projects that got delayed for a couple of years. And now that that's wrapping up, all of this production is ramping up very, very quickly. So there is high demand for talent, and these companies are willing to pay for it. So if you've been stuck at the initiative for, I think Perfect Dark was originally announced in 2020. It's 2022 now. We haven't seen anything beyond that little 30-second teaser trailer. They're going to where the grass is greener at this point. So I am really worried about what's going on at the initiative and as Xbox Game Studios as a whole, because they haven't really showed us what they have coming other than the fact that they bought some stuff. Halo Infinite has been suffering some serious issues. Gears of War is kind of it's a floundering franchise at this point. What new is coming from that franchise? I'm not worried about like Xbox Game Studios, but there's something fucking weird going on the Microsoft side of the gaming industry right now, where projects just aren't coming out as hot as they need to be, or getting these weird delays like this. There's something going on. It's
because they're busy spending billions of dollars on Activision.
That could be it. I just don't know. That could be one of the reasons why they bought Activision, is so they can bring in not so much their IPs, which are valuable to themselves, but the massive influx of developer talent that comes along with buying Activision.
Also, just all of that existing structure, because they've grown significantly in studios over the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
And it's not something that they traditionally had to manage, right? Xbox Game Studios was pretty small relatively 3 years ago.
Xbox was always, when it comes to Microsoft, Xbox is a drop in the bucket, so it never really was a major focus of their portfolio.
Yeah, and now that they're all of a sudden pulling in all of these studios, they kind of need to pay more attention. So it's almost kind of curious on if that's part of it, right? They want some more of that perspective.
It sounds weird to say this because it's Microsoft, but they might have grown too fast, too big, too fast.
What? A company got too big too fast?
I know that sounds weird.
Preposterous.
I know that sounds weird.
Never happened before, ever. Next, you're gonna tell me their stock is overvalued.
Actually, not financial advice. I don't think Microsoft stock is overvalued at all. I think it might be.
No, I don't.
I think it might be really good to get into right now at the push
point. We're not professionals. Please do not take any financial advice from GamePoints. We are not responsible for the
not. I'm not responsible for your dumbass stock trades. But I think this is the case where they just expanded very, very quickly, and we're starting to see some repercussions from that.
Alrighty.
David, we got one more news story here and then a bunch of smaller stuff. Via IGN. EA Play Live event won't be happening this year.
Just nada.
In another blow to an already uncertain summer event season, IGN can reveal that EA will not be hosting its traditional EA Play event this year. Instead, the publishing giant will be revealing more about its projects when the time is right for each of them. A representative from EA shared the following statement with IGN. We love EA Play Live, and it's our way of connecting with players and sharing what's new with all of you. However, this year things aren't lining up to show you everything on one date. We have exciting things happening at world-class studios, and this year we'll reveal much more about these projects when the time is right for each of them. We look forward to spending time with you throughout the year. EA has traditionally hosted a press conference of broadcast in tandem with June's E3 event. Beginning in 2016, EA turned the press conferences into a live event called EA Play, where fans could try publishers' upcoming lines of games. That since went digital when COVID hit, and now they're just not doing it this year. David, I think what this means is that I expect EA to have a very weak 2022 and up to early 2023 lineup.
They didn't want to have a whole conference just to say, here's the new Madden.
Mm-hmm. So don't expect anything from BioWare, I would imagine, even in 2023. Dragon Age 4, which would be BioWare's next game.
Even more than that, don't expect anything from DICE.
Yeah, don't expect anything from DICE because of the Battlefield 2042. You know that there are people at EA, like top suits, sitting down having a hard look at the Battlefield franchise going, what the fuck do we do about this?
Maybe stop being such pieces of shit. And, make a good video game, not chock full of microtransactions. Also make it so it works and isn't buggy.
2042, I was going to say, 2042's myriad of problems run way deeper than just microtransactions.
No, I'm well aware, but I'm saying there's a whole heap of things.
But there's a...
And maybe adding, hey, spend more money on this giant heaping pile of shit isn't a good look.
EA is going to be very quiet for the next 12 months because of all that, though. You might get some details about Dragon Age and the next Mass Effect and everything like that, but there's so many stories about EA right now that really suggest that there's a restructuring going on behind the scenes. This being another sign of that. But with them talking about how we might not have the FIFA name anymore because it's just 4 letters on a box, so why are we spending money on it? To the debacle that is Battlefield 2042. To the fact that BioWare still got like this big black mark on it over the last few games they've done, and that Dragon Age 4 has been all but rebooted twice, I hear. I know once for certain, maybe even twice, and they keep having massive turnaround there. Sure, you can have Madden every year. You can do your NBA Live every year. But that's really all EA's got right now, and we don't know anything else that they got down the pipe that I can think off the top of my head. I could be missing something. I don't pay that strong attention to EA. But I think all this is kind of showing that there's a restructuring going on behind the scenes. And because of that, shit's getting delayed and pushed around. You have anything you want to add to that?
Nope, I'm ready to move on.
All right. Sounds good. We got 2 upcoming events coming up. One of them this week, Hogwarts Legacy.
Let's talk about how weird this is really quick.
Okay.
Before we get into the specifics of it, we're having back-to-back State of Plays.
Yes, and Sony also had a State of Play the previous weekend before the one we went over this show about Gran Turismo.
So maybe stop getting mad about fucking them not showing the thing you want, because chances are they just will, just later, and they'll tell you exactly when it's coming.
Speaking of what's exactly coming, this Hogwarts Legacy State of Play, of course, being based around Avalanche Software and Warner Brothers Games' upcoming Harry Potter RPG, will broadcast on March 17th at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And they tell you, verbatim, let me read this verbatim. This is what the show will have. The show will run for about 20 minutes, featuring over 14 minutes of Hogwarts Legacy's gameplay captured on a PS5, and concluding with some insight from a few members of the team at Avalanche Software who are bringing the wizarding world to life. You can't get much more
So they're going to show off new
God
of War, and they're going to announce the next Half-Life game, and they're also going to, show that new Horizon VR game, right? Everything you've ever wanted will be in this State of Play because, they weren't specific enough.
I love how I will give Sony credit for this. I love how specific they are. It's fucking fantastic because I know that I don't need to take time out to watch this.
Yeah. What's funny, I was going to say the same thing. It's like, look at that. That's 20 minutes I don't need to waste.
And here's the thing.
Great.
I actually do want to know more about Hogwarts Legacy, but I'm not excited about it. I'm just curious to see what they did with it, because this is one of those games that have been talked about for a couple years now. So it's
I couldn't give a shit.
Fair enough. It's curiosity for me. I want to see what they've done. Also, an upcoming event. This one's way down the line, but it was announced this week. Konami will be holding an Indie Games Connect 2022 on June 26. It'll be held in the Konami Creative Center in Ginza in Tokyo from 11 to 5
o'clock.
And the reason why I'm mentioning this, David, it's a ways away, but between the TMNT collection, between all the other collections Konami's been doing, it really does feel like Konami is starting to wade back into games again.
They're not.
They're not. This is just them doing...
Them releasing old video games and promoting indie video games that they're not making is not them coming back into video games. It's them reminding people that they still have product to sell.
Okay. That's not even me like dismissing that argument. That is like, okay, that is an acceptable answer to that.
That is my perspective on this. You feel free to disagree, but that's where I'm at.
I also got 2 delays before we get into new releases here. First up, Dead Space now slated for the 2023. This is the remake of the...
I didn't even know it was supposed to come out this year, so all right.
It was scheduled tentatively to release later this year. They were kind of shooting for that as a target window, but they were never really firm on that. They did openly come out today and say, hey, this is coming for early 2023. Really, really excited about that. That is an EA game, by the way. That did get pushed back until next year. That's why I said this is going to be a very thin year for EA this year. Also, Nintendo has delayed the release of Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. It has been delayed due to actual wars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You love it when devs openly come out. Yeah, I'm sure you... Yes, Rocco. Yes. David?
Yes.
I don't like the fact that Advance Wars 1 and 2 was delayed. I tend to be against holding things back due to tragedy, because I think one of the best ways to deal with it is moving forward, but I get why they did it. However, that does mean I have a gap in my schedule, because this game was supposed to come out in early April, and I was going to devote some time to it. So what can I find over the next week or so to keep myself entertained until finally I get to experience fake war again and not real war?
Well, the first thing on my list might not be for you specifically, but if you've got like a kid or a partner who absolutely adores cute things in your household, you might want to look at Capybara Spa on PC. You know what a capybara is, right?
Yeah, it's like a giant fat hedgehog.
Yeah, it's like that cute giant guinea pig thing. They're fuzzy. This is a point-and-click simulation relaxing game where you're growing fruit and making soaps and you're cleaning towels and you're literally just pampering capybaras. You put them in little hot tubs. You feed them food. They have tiny babies. It's ridiculously cupcake level cute is what it looks like to me.
I saw this. I tertiary Nova developer to it, so I want to make sure this got a shout out on the channel. It does look adorable. If you like games like the what was that cat game on the phones that everyone's playing there for a second?
Yeah,
there.
Everybody that loved the cat game where you get cats on your patio,
like
or if you
or something like that.
Or if you played like the cupcake making game or any of that kind of stuff, this might be your jam.
Rocco, thank you very much for the bits, by the way. I do appreciate it. And good to have you back. I've noticed that you've been gone for a couple weeks or so. At least it felt like a couple weeks. Good to have you back.
Party! Next up, Grand Theft Auto 5/GTA Online releases on the next gens, PS5 and Xbox Series X/S. Is there anyone, really anyone, that requires me to describe to them this video game?
No.
That is released on every generation of PlayStation for the last 3. I don't think so. If you have not already played Grand Theft Auto, you are probably under the age of 15. In which case, you are anxiously awaiting to play Grand Theft Auto. So I hope you enjoy it. It's great. Dawn of the Monsters hits the PlayStations, the Xbox, the Switch, and PC. If you remember at the top of the show, we talked about that Giga Fight, Giga Battle, Giga something, War of the Monsters looking spinoff, that Sunny State of Play. Well, this also looks like a War of the Monsters spinoff. It's the cataclysmic battle between giant monsters has begun in this manga-inspired side-scrolling kaiju beat-em-up. Except this is on all consoles, and it has a personal opinion, but a much better aesthetic than the other game we spoke of.
Agreed. Also, keep in mind, this is co-developed and published by WayForward, who makes some excellent games.
This game looks flippin' awesome, and I'm not gonna lie, that other game is gonna be a hard sell for me, since this game's one already out. and I
It's
can
from
look
the
at it
same
immediately.
people that did like DuckTales, or part of the same people that did like the DuckTales remastered stuff. River City Girls, if you remember the River City
Yeah,
Rampage spinoff.
that game is amazing, by
fantastic.
the way, if you never played that one.
And all the Shantae games.
Yep, also great. Next up on the list, Phantom Breaker Omnia. It's a PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. This is a 2D fighter, anime fighting game, 20 different characters, and it's based on the Phantom Breaker. I think it's a manga or an anime, or I know it's an existing series, and I know there's a lot of Phantom Breaker games because they've been on like the PS3 and the Vita, and I know that I've seen Phantom Breaker as a video game all over the place. So
I thought you knew what this was, which is why I added this.
yeah, when I got my Vita, this was one of the games that was just like in the batch of stuff I got was Phantom Breaker something, and it's like a weird fighting game. So I'm like aware of it tangentially. Like, next up, Shredders. This is not Shredder's Revenge, unfortunately. This is an Xbox and PC snowboarding video game, and it's a it's not one of the mainline ones, right? It's not the next Steep or whatever. It's just a new snowboarding game. So if you're desperate to play one of those, it can't be as good as Cool Borders was. So I don't even know why anyone's even bothering anymore.
I also think this is going to be on Xbox Game Pass in a couple of days, so it's something to keep in mind.
It'll probably be fun, but SSX did it once, and I have trouble getting excited for snowboarding video games. I just want all the old ones to come back. Speaking of something coming back, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. It's PlayStation, Switch, and PC. This is it's the Persona 4 fighting game, but it's different.
It's the hyper version.
It's Super Persona 4 Turbo. There you go. Monster Energy Supercross 5 hits the PlayStation's Xbox as well. I like this because their own tagline reads, "The official video game of the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship. It's back with its 4th edition. The most extreme ever." And then I have a quick moment.
4th?
Monster Energy Supercross 5. Their own tagline says 4th. I don't know if I have high hopes for this video game based on this piece of marketing alone. But if you love motorcycles, take a look.
So, they could have started off something weird here. Because
they also could have called it something else. It could have been a tie-in game. It could have been ATV versus MX Supercross or something. And now they actually have the license, and they didn't for the first one. Who knows?
Well, I'm reminded of this puzzle game that was called Luxor 2.
You always got to bring up Luxor 2 just because there was no Luxor 1.
There was no Luxor 1, however. So I have to wonder if they just called it Monster Energy Supercross 2, because when you fucking have your tagline as the official game of blah, 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 and it's written in such a technical manner, making your first game number 2 to sell more because sequels sell more is the kind of shit you would do.
I mean, I guess that's fair, but I swear you've got like a Post-it note or one of those sticky notes on your desktop just to say, hey, remember to bring up Luxor 2 again.
Hey, I fucking love the story behind Luxor 2.
I know. Everyone knows. Sorry. Next up, Anno Mutinem. How do you say that? Mutationem? Mutinium.
Metonium. Metonium.
Metonium? Okay, think of mutation and then add an EM to the end.
Yeah.
That's how you spell that. If you're Mutationem. This is a PlayStation and PC cyberpunk RPG. This has nothing to do with the traditional Anno franchise, which I had thought when I originally looked at it. I was like, oh, is this like a pandemic version of Anno? Because that sounds awesome. It's not. It's a cyberpunk RPG, which still looks cool. I just don't know about the name. It's a 2.5D game set in a cyberpunk world, so it's got some kind of like 2D side-scrolling platformer action, but then it's also got a bit of a 3D world and like an exploration, and I don't know. It's got some weird plot. Take a look if you're into that kind of stuff. Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus is an instant get for my buddy Steven over here. This is on the PlayStation, Xbox,
Incorrect.
Switch, PC, and Mac. An eccentric FMV murder mystery with a twist. Someone has poisoned Uncle Marcus. Uncover the truth in the yearly family quiz to try and save him before it's too late.
I am now over this genre. They've gotten too high budget.
If it's not on Sega CD, don't bother this guy.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
If it runs at any higher than 460, fuck off.
I mean, I could come over and install this on your computer and turn all the settings way down, and you could try it that way. Oh boy, Siberia, the
That
world
said,
before.
one of the best games I played this year so far is still not for broadcast, and that is an FMV game.
I know you love these FMV games. You'll get around to it. I'm sure you will. Siberia, the world before, hits PC this week. You're embarking on a journey across continents and through time as you piece together the puzzle of a life. This is a point-and-click adventure game. We mentioned at the top of the show, Strangers in Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins, which does have a demo available if you're interested. Hits the PlayStation's Xbox and PC, but please keep in mind that this here Final Fantasy game is an Epic exclusive on PC.
Really weird to me.
In this hardcore action RPG, Jack must hazard numerous challenges to bring the light of the crystals back to Cornelia. I don't know. He's pissed off about chaos. You can take a look. And last but not least, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass hits on Switch. This is the DLC pass that has, like 48 or 58 tracks releasing over the next 3,000 years. So if you have just tons of time and you want to play nothing but Mario Kart 8, take a look.
David, that does it for new releases. That means it does it for the show as well. This
Indeed.
has been GamePoints episode 301. Thank you all for showing up. We do stream live here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. But if you can't watch us live, feel free to check us out on any number of alternate social media accounts, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, all that good stuff. You can follow the show on Twitter at GamePointsPC, myself at CapitalistPig21, and David there at _Satori. You can also join our Discord if you want to be a part of the greater GamePoints community, link provided down below. And if you like what you saw here and you support the show, you can do so in a myriad of ways. Likes, bits, follows, subs, all that good stuff like so many of you did tonight. Once again, Rocco, thank you very much for that toward the end. David, that's it. Thank you all for showing up. And until next time, we're out of here.